Betsy and Thomas here for the American Intelligence Media. Today we turn our view on DACA and DAPA again. We want to do a little refresher because we've already posted some material on it, written some articles, but things are happening that Thomas would like to update you. So what exactly do you have to say, dear?
Well, as we said in our article, we said that Trump was doing the art of the deal and just hold on and back off, because when it's a public deal he has to do, as he likes to tell us all the time, he doesn't tell you what he's really doing. If he did that, if he signaled that, he couldn't be a good businessman. You don't play your cards anywhere but close to your chest when you're playing with such criminals. So when he came up with the DACA, I would call it the exposure. I would call it the, what do you call it when you have the camera come into your real life and you watch it? That's what's going on. He brought the cameras in to show them how corrupt these people were. Second the cameras were off, lying, calling names, inventing stuff to try to distract. That's what the Democrats did. What did he do? He distracted them. He ate up the time. He also put forth some ideas that he said he will not back off on, which means they will never, ever come to the table. This is like Palestine and Israel coming to the table. Look what's happening there. He's now going to defund the Palestinians. He's defunding the sources of their money that create this terrorism. And he's come out and said, I'm not even going to do business with terrorists, and so I know who you people are. He's doing the same thing with Washington, D.C., so he's calling them all out, and that's the beauty of this DACA thing. He's also calling the DACA folks out. Notice now, DACA dreamers are becoming vicious and mean, rioting, and literally taking it into the Congress, taking it to Schumer's home, and threatening people. And then now what do they say? It's not that they want to continue to have a work permit, which is what DACA really is. It's aliens who were brought into this country by illegal aliens, and they are now allowed to work. So basically, it's nothing more than an order to not deport them. So what do they want now? Oh, no. Now they want no borders, no nations. Everybody comes in. Look at their recent manifesto, and you will realize who you're dealing with. Who you are calling these dreamers, yeah, they're dreaming not only for amnesty, they're dreaming that there will be no more America. That's the reason they can call one of the biggest offerings of amnesty by any president in modern times white supremacy. That is what we're dealing with. Now remember, of the true amount of DACA, which no one can seem to point their finger at except right before the bill was supposed to pass, the truth came out, 3.6 million DACA, and there are 400,000 children. So that's where the number 4 million comes from. That's not an exaggeration. And that doesn't count their parents, which could be another, possibly even 2 million more. So when we're talking about these numbers, you have to realize they're all fake. They're based upon census estimates, which are old, and upon voluntary information, and then upon statistics. Well, they can't stop millions and millions. I would estimate there was at least 5, 6, 8 million fake votes during the last presidential election. They can't stop that. So do you think they can stop illegals coming across a border that doesn't exist? Because there's no wall, because it's been torn down, because there's a catch and release program of Obama's invasion of America, because visas are not acted upon. 10 million people come into this country with visas a year. 42% of them stay over. We don't deport hardly any of them. We're talking about 20 million people. So what did Trump do? That was a play to get them to play their hardest or their best offer to show who they were, so they'd close down government, so they would show they don't intend to help DACA at all. They want to blame amnesty on the president and then move the numbers up from 800,000 to 3.6 million in the budget over a few years. That's the way this game is played.
You see, these folks are being used for the globalists, being used by the globalists as their foot soldiers. This is an invasion of people that are being used to overthrow the government of the United States.
It's absolutely because they vote. And because sanctuary cities...
Some people are going to say, they vote. They can't vote.
Oh.
I mean, seriously, I will have comments in the box because that's how unawake some folks are.
That's false, because Vice President Pence did the election. Matter of fact, Trump wrote an executive order so they could do an analysis to see if there was rigging and any fraud during the election. They They asked all states to send in their information. 17 states sent them in, and they found between 3.5 to 4.5 million fraudulent votes. On the first pass, by simply comparing existing records that those states already have that the feds have access to. So if it's only 17 states and it's, let's just call it the average, 4 million fraudulent votes, how many total fraudulent votes? And these weren't even from the Democratic states, which of course are in some cases sanctuary states now, like California, and the large states that have some of the largest cities, which are sanctuary cities. That's where many of these Democratic votes come from. So whether people know it or not, we are being, well, let me put it this way. Right now, the DACA workers who are allowed to work and the illegal aliens that are allowed to work on work permits equal the amount of unemployed American citizens. Why would anyone need to go any further than that in analyzing the situation? And that's the statistics we have right now. Now, why wouldn't we then also build a wall so that then when the point comes when perhaps the Democrats and the Republicans can agree, and it must be only the Congress, not the president, who creates laws concerning immigrants. And that's why Anchor Baby still isn't solved. That's why the DAPA still goes on and DACA still goes on, because you write an executive order and then you just drop the law, the rules, and then you get millions of people.
Well, this is why Obama had to do what he did, misusing the power of his executive office to do this with immigration. Now, Trump comes out and he starts talking amnesty, and folks are getting upset that he is. But look, he's just negotiating. He's just playing the enemy. And so let him do that. But in the meantime, we the people, we're smart. We know that this kind of legislation must come from Congress. It can't come from the president's office. So while the president is yanking their chains and they're being distracted, what we all need to do is to make sure that our congressmen understand that we want the wall, we want immigration policies that is strict.
Well, yes, we want to go back to the way that it used to be when law ruled, when there were borders, when you didn't catch and release, when children released at the borders were sent back, when a pregnant woman coming here was sent back. You didn't say, come here, have a baby. What happened was in 2011, it was part of Obama's bombing 7 countries, creating 56 million refugees, killing 2 million people, and creating the European crisis, what they call the migrant. They're not migrants. Only 2% of them have taken up jobs. They are a Muslim invasion of Europe that is being extremely effective, and only a few countries have been able to resist. We had Obama in 2011 and 2013 with a Democratic Senate and House couldn't get through the Dreamer Act. So when they say they already have the Dreamer Act, yes, the Dreamer Act, Chuck Schumer wrote the Dreamer Act. And it said strengthen the borders, and it said reduce immigration, and it said tighten visas, and it said all these things. But it couldn't get passed because the Democrats won't agree to it. Why? That's a mystery to me. I don't understand that. But it has to do with vested interests. So both sides are paid by the same people. Remember, the people donating to Congress pay Republicans and Democrats. So you have to look who is padding the pockets from where. With the Republicans, they get the cheap labor for these big companies. For the Democrats, what do they get? Free votes. Because people believe that the amnesty would be given by the Democrats. People believe there couldn't be a Dreamer Act without the Democrats. It's the Democrats, it's the Democrats. It was Ronald Reagan who gave the largest amnesty in modern history, 3 million people. It was a Republican, folks. It was Trump who came up with the first idea that might have worked, but he knew it wouldn't work. That was a ploy. He included chain migration, which right now, chain migration, 4.4 million people are waiting to come in on chain migration. They come in all the time on visas. So what is happening is he's trying to create the rule of law again. And if he has to give away to the fact that there are 790,000 or so, 760,000 DACA workers who pay $500 a year, and that's the reason Congress couldn't stop Obama. He wrote an executive order, collected the money from these children of illegal immigrants and allowed them to work, to get a green card, and to stay here under the auspices of we're going to take care of it in a number of years. That means amnesty. So when Obama couldn't get it through in 2011 and 2013 through the Congress, he then just acted on this. He also then said, after DACA, which is actually 3.6 million, he wrote DAPA and put it into effect. And it was both DACA and DAPA the courts have said no to, except the highest court said, the Supreme Court said 4-4. So it went to the lower court's ruling, an appeal court that said it actually was illegal in numerous states. So what happened? Immediately thereupon, he created DAPA, and that's the Deferred Action for Parents of Americans, which would be another 4 million illegals who are already here. And then there's millions lined up, 6 million a year line up, and 1.5 million get through the process. But the others, oftentimes those are what would be considered DAPA parents. Those are parents of people who are now naturalized. So they could come in. So that's millions more. So the second you say no chain migration, you're saying no to the possibility of millions, 10 million people coming in the next 5 years. When you say no to the lottery, that's 50,000 a year. When you say no to the refugees from the UN, that's 100,000 a year. Obama wanted to make it 500,000 a year. When you say no to the border and you build a border, that stops the 500,000 a year that come in that are basically the attrition that is caused in our workplace each year. So all you have to do is follow the law, and you could change a lot of things. But who is going to deport the 20 million illegal aliens that were told, just like Angela Merkel told all of the Syrian refugees, come on up, we'll put you on our social service, we'll give you an income, and you don't even have to work, we just want you to breed. I mean, essentially, that's what she told them. We're running out of people here. We need you. Come on up. And George Soros funded it and gave them food and water all the way along, and gave them the boats because he wants chaos. That's the reason he's fighting Hungary. That's the reason he's fighting Poland. And you can just look. He will be attempting another color revolution in Hungary. He already started, but then he was kicked out. He tried it in Russia. I just heard George Soros' talk at Davos. You want to listen to that man because he is the evil CIA, rogue CIA that we call it, the globalists, who he lays out the plan for everybody. Last year, the plan was resist Trump, the stock market's going to crash. He bet $1 billion it would crash. He lost $1 billion the first day. And of course, he lost a tremendous amount of money because he bought short, and it's gone nothing but long. He has then predicted that Trump would be a disaster for every trade policy. Wrong. That he'd be disaster for global warming, the climate accord. Wrong. For America, it's the best. He predicted all these things. They're all wrong. So what does he predict this year? He predicts that Trump is going to create an atomic war, nuclear war in North Korea. Wrong. They're at the peace table as we speak. He also predicted that Facebook and Google must basically go out of business as quick as possible. That's because of us, alternative news. He can't stop the... Say it, Betsy. He can't stop
He can't stop us because the internet is scalable, highly scalable, and we are all quite informed out here. We're decentralized, and we have an operation, we call it Information Rapid Deployment, where we send out truth, and we have networks all over the world that then disseminate that information to their audiences. They cannot beat us at this point when it comes to information warfare.
And you've coined a phrase.
Oh, yeah, I like it. I call it how they talk about the Russian bots. They're always the bots because they don't know where this is coming from. They don't know why they can't defeat us. They thought they had the media. They thought they had Facebook locked down and all their algorithms, but it's not working. So what they do is they go, okay, well, then it's some bots out there. And so, it has to be Russian bots because, that's the favorite boogeyman. Well, it's not. It's we the people, and we call ourselves the Patriot bots.
The Internet of Patriots.
Yeah, because if folks out there, they're making memes and hashtags. I mean, just look at Release the Memo. Congress was slammed with those hashtags. And they're trying to figure out where did they come from? Who started that? because that's where they want to go. They want to shut that off, but they can't because we are so decentralized. It's sort of like we took that blockchain technology, we saw how that worked, and we said, well, how can we do this in the truth news space? And then what happens is that truth platforms start building on each other. We leverage each other. We hyperlink into each other. If we find that there is a source that's not telling truth consistently, we will push them aside and they'll lose their place in our network. And so this network is getting bigger and bigger. More people are coming to us and they simply can't take us down. They might be able to take one of us down, but this network is like a blockchain. It can't be taken down now.
And look at the text. You see, they've created these weapons, and now the text messages of Strzok and Page are exploding Washington, D.C. And the 4-page memo, exploding Washington, D.C. What is that? Those are intercepted documents because people don't know how to use technology properly. And they're so silly that they would text message or sext text 50,000 times thinking they could get away with it. Well, Andrew McCabe got away with it. We don't have any of his text messages. We don't have Comey's text messages, except the leaked ones. So what we have here is the fact that it's being reversed on the people who created these weaponized forms of digital technology that meant to control our minds, to brainwash us. But we're washing our brains. We're getting them clean of the falsehood politics and the age of falsehood, and we're turning towards truth, exactly as Betsy said. So be proud you're a Patriot bot. Be proud you're part of the internet of patriots, because it only takes one person sometimes to literally change history, and that's not an exaggeration. Look at Trump. And let's just say, here's the person who actually changed history. Melania, because she agreed to let him run. So we have to realize one person can change the world, and it may be not the person that you think it is. It could be someone quite different, and it could be you, one of our Patriot bots.